Hey everybody, sorry it's been a while since my last video, but life at work has just been crazy. Working 12-14 hour days. By the time I get home, just not feeling up to working on the Jeep. But I'm on vacation now. I've got 9 days all to myself. Gonna do a little camping and try to get a lot of work done on the Jeeps. Today we're gonna be working on the 1990 XJ, the Renix. If you watched the introduction video I did about this Jeep, you'll remember that it came with no headliner. But my wife really wants a headliner, and so I'm gonna put one in. I found someone actually right down the road, just about a mile away, who was parting out a 1996 Cherokee, and I grabbed the headliner. Got it for free. All I had to do was help him out, taking a couple of parts off the Jeep so he could sell them to somebody else, and he gave me my pick of everything that was left, and grabbed the headliner and a couple of trim pieces, and got it for free just for helping him out. So here we go. If your headliner is like my headliner in my 96, or like most other Jeeps, the material likes to come loose and sag. I have not pulled this side off at all. This is just what it was like in the Jeep, and they all seem to be like that after a while. So there's some things we need to do to get it ready to put some new material on it. First thing you're going to need, obviously, is some material to cover it with. This is a fleece material. Originally, when the headliner was put on, it's a really thin felt, and then they use a really thin foam padding between the felt and the headboard itself, which is made out of some kind of compressed fiberboard, and then they use like a spray glue. In fact, the foam itself, I believe, was the glue. I believe they spray the foam on and it acts like an adhesive for the felt itself, if I remember correctly. But what happens is the foam starts deteriorating, and as the foam deteriorates, that's why your headliner sags. It's not because the glue gave way, it's because the foam is deteriorating and turning to dust. So we need to get all the foam off of the board itself, otherwise it's going to keep turning to dust and your new material is going to fall off just as easily as your old material. So I suggest something with a little bit of stretch. Now, a fleece has some padding, so it's going to be about the same thickness as the original felt plus the foam, so that's nice. And then it's also got some stretch and some forgiveness to it, so it'll get around the curves and the bends and any areas we need it to get around. The other thing you're going to need is some glue to glue it on. You want to spray glue, and I'm using 3M Super 77, which is not the perfect choice. I think it'll be okay. Here in Michigan, if you're in a warmer climate, you're definitely going to want to go with something designed for high heat and headliners. The 3M 77 is what I could find locally, and I think it'll be all right. If it doesn't work, if it starts sagging again, well, I'll have to pull it off and redo it again. But I think the 77 should work all right. It's just in high heat and humidity, sometimes the 77 wants to give way. And trust me, I know what I'm talking about, because one of my jobs for a living, which I've done for 30 years, is upholster things, including way more headliners than I care to think about. So finally, a video where I'm talking about something I actually know about. If you can find the headliner glue, there are several manufacturers make some. 3M might make some. Your auto parts store should have some. It's expensive though. I mean, you're talking probably $14 to $20 a can, as opposed to the 3M 77 at Wally World. I got, I think, $8 or $9 a can. But again, for my purposes, it should work. If you want something that you know is going to work, find the actual headliner stuff. And the other thing you're going to need is some kind of scraper. I think they call this a tile tool or a grout scraper or something. It's designed to yank grout out between tiles, but it's got a nice flat edge, and you could scrape with it. I found that the sharp corners on this like to dig into that fiber board that's beneath the foam. This is a Pampered Chef vinyl pot scraper. We've got a few of them floating around the kitchen. We use them for scraping out the pots. But it's got a little flexibility to it. It's a lot softer than that metal thing, and it's got the rounded edges, and it seems to be working. just perfect. Okay, step one, removing the old material. It should just peel right off. I mean, you shouldn't have any problems with it. If you do, you might try a little heat from a heat gun or a hair dryer, but I really don't think you're gonna have any problems getting it off. After it's been in the car for a couple of years, that foam just starts going, and it should just peel right off. All right, now the fun begins with all the scraping. This headboard itself is made from several layers of this compressed fiber stuff, and so all I'm doing is trying to peel the very top layer that this adhesive foam stuff was stuck to. Okay, well, I got a problem, and I thought it might be fun to show you guys how I fix them. Been doing it this way for years, and I've never had anyone call me up and say, hey, my headliner fell apart. The corners on these things like to fall off, especially when there's a lot of holes, and like here, right here on this corner, this is where the visor goes through. And so they, you know, as you're pulling them in, putting them out, over time they get roughed up and they get beat up, and there's not a whole lot of materials. Here you can see the layers of how that goes together. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some cardboard, not the corrugated kind, just like I think this is cardboard my shocks came in or something. I still had lying around in the corner of the garage. But we're going to cut this down and we're going to make a splint and glue it on using the same glue that we use for the headliners. And we're going to do both sides. We're going to do top and the bottom and sandwich it together. And it's not going to be real strong, but it'll be as strong as this stuff, and it'll last. Okay, the thing about spray glue is you have to spray it. You have to spray it lightly, but it's hard to explain. You want a nice layer on, but you don't want it so wet that it'll take a long time to dry, because you can't put this stuff together right away. It's got to get tacky. It's almost like contact cement, except if you let it dry completely, like you would with contact cement, where it's dry to the touch, this stuff won't work. It won't stick to itself at that point. So it's still got to be tacky, quite tacky, but not wet. Hard to explain, but hopefully this video will help you see it. So I'm just going to spray all the pieces and where I'm going to use the glue, and I'll show you how I do it. This is spray glue. Here we go. This is a good opportunity to show you what happens with the spray glue when you put it on when it's still just a hair too wet. You can see all of that white stuff right in between. This right here is the edge of the top layer, or the bottom layer of the headliner itself, and right here is the cardboard, and all this white stuff right in the middle are strands of that glue. And what happened is the stuff I had sprayed on the cardboard was perfect. The stuff I had sprayed on the headliner was still too wet. And now that it's dried up, if you press it down right away, if that happens, let it set up some more and you can save it, just like it happened right there. If you see it peeling apart and you press it together again right away, what's going to happen is that glue is going to lose its tackiness to your original surface. And yeah, it'll eventually dry, but it's not going to stick to anything you want it to stick to. So if you see it peeling apart, let it dry some more, let it tack up some more before you put it together. And then after it dries some more, you can save it. There we go, one repaired corner. and like I said, it's going to be as strong as the rest of the board, and because it's going to be in the corner and almost completely hidden by trim, so no one's even going to notice it. Hey, there's pieces of cardboard under there. All I did was take the new material and cut it to size and have laid it out on the headliner itself, on the board itself. Now we're going to do half at a time. There are really two ways you could do this successfully. One is if you have a helper, you could spray the entire headliner. You could spray entirely one side of the material, and then you and your helper flip the material over, press it down into the headliner. I don't have any helpers of age around here today. I've got little kids, so I'm going to do it by myself, which means I'm going to do it half a headliner at a time. We will get the same results, but this is the one person method. Before you start pressing down, make sure you got everything out where you need it, no wrinkles, and now just start pressing down. I'm going to do the rest of this in real speed on the camera so you can sort of get a feeling for how fast I'm going, because this is about how much glue you want to put down. You don't want to go much heavier than this. And just like spray paint, you're going to overlap your layers a little bit. And then if you notice any holes where you may have gotten a little light, just go in and touch them up. You really don't want to overdo it on this stuff, otherwise you'll have to let it sit for 20 minutes before you can tack it down. This I should be able to get done spraying and pretty much go, and it'll last forever. Make sure all the wrinkles are out, and then push her down. So now we need to take care of the edges and the inside holes where we need to cut for like the speaker bar and the dome lights. So all we're going to do is cut a right angle in the material, so when we fold it over, there's no big buildup of the material itself. Like I say, this corner is going to be covered by trim anyways, but look, if we do that, and then we'll trim that off. But once we trim that off, then look, there's no edges built up there that we have to worry about. So we're going to do that as we go along. For these holes, all we're going to do is start in the middle and cut to each corner. So there should be 4 cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you fold the pieces up. You'll have little diamonds or triangles to fold up. And use junky scissors, because you're going to get them covered in glue.
Alright, so there we go, guys. Check it out. New headliner ready to go in the Jeep. In an upcoming video, I'll show you how it goes in there and how we install it. But until then, please subscribe, check out the other videos, and stay tuned. Lots more coming up this summer.